Fucked and drank all night, acted all alright. Had no need to fight tonight. Fucked and drank all night, acted all alright. Had no need to fight tonight.
So guys, a bit of an update on the progress on the car and the build. As you can see by the utter mess all over the floor out here, I've been sorting out the wiring on the car. I haven't filmed this as it's just really fiddly and really time consuming, and it's not very interesting to watch on camera. But as you can see, I've also pressure washed out the engine bay, so it's all tidy. Once I've stripped out a few more parts, still got the master and clutch master as well to strip out. I'm going to take them out so that I can fully paint the bulkhead. Not sure whether I'm going to take the heater matrix out. I probably will, just so that I can paint everything up nicely. But yeah, I've given the inside of the engine bay a good clean. The steering box needs to come out also, but we're getting there. I've stripped off all the covers off the wiring, and I'm slowly going through it all, removing any of it that's just not doing anything. Some of the wiring in this thing was just a complete mess, just completely hilarious. Whoever thought they'd done a good job when they did the wiring, just obviously was just clueless. As you can see, it's an utter mess in here. I am going to start tidying it up. I have labelled everything so I do know what's what, but as you can imagine, it's a bit of a job, and it's going to take some time. I'm not really going to be able to get it on camera, but I've cut meters and meters of wire that were just doing nothing, or actually frankly was a safety hazard out of the car, so in that respect it's a positive. In here, I've received some goodies from the good people at Clutch Fix. If you want to go check them out, there's their logo. Got a couple of stickers, which is good of them. Basically, due to the high horsepower that I'm running, I required their M57 flywheel, pressure plate and organic clutch. This is good and rated for 650 Newton meters. I'm going to be running about 500, but I wanted to build in some element of future proofing into the car. So yeah, I've gone for their clutch kit as it's the one that's capable of handling the most power on the market. Also, they've provided heavy duty release bearing. These are prone to melting on 300 TDIs and TDIs, Land Rover gearboxes in general, as effectively what happens is that it's pressed against it even while it's running, and that slight rotation, the heat transfers through into the plastic bit, which is normally this part here, and it effectively melts the back of the bearing and writes off, means you have to strip the gearbox out. Over here you can see I've got the steering box. I've checked it all for play. I went through all the steering arms, tightened them up onto the thing and checked them for play as well. Steering box is good, that's going to be going back in later this afternoon. And over here I've got the brake pedal box and also the servo. Now, I wanted to fit a TD5 brake system to my 90. The 200 TDI bias valve I had in there was all tired, and I prefer the way the TD5 setup is. So what I've had to do, I didn't realise it, I thought I could just change out the master cylinder on the front of the servo, but sadly these mounting holes in the servo are different. and I then later found out that the clutch, the whole pedal assembly is different. So what I've done on eBay, as I already ordered the cylinder, which is in there, I've ordered a whole pedal box off a used car. I'm gonna trust that their servo on that one is okay, and I'm just gonna fit the new master cylinder, and obviously I'll give the new one, which is coming in a similar condition to this, I'm going to give it a full strip down, paint, refurbish, so it's all nice and tidy to fit back onto the car. Obviously I've got to remember to take my VIN number back off and fit it on the new one, and then I'll be chucking this up on eBay to get rid of it and cover the cost of the new one. We've got a few parts collecting up here. We've got stainless steel terra firma brake lines. For the kit, it's recommended that you fit a BMW X3 or X5, I can't remember exactly, but it's the smallest starter motor you can fit to the car, and it gives it more space, and with Syncro Gearboxes adapter, it allows it all to work nicely. What I'm going to be doing is also helicoiling it so that you don't have to take the gearbox off to fit the starter motor, which will make life really good in the future. Also got two new engine mounts, M57 engine mounts, we'll get to those later on, and in there I've got a later style handbrake off of a TD5. The reason being, I'm going to fit this TD5 handbrake drum to the car, as the older style handbrake drums are just prone to not working very well, and they get water ingress and messes up the mechanism, and I've just got bored with mine, so I'm going to outrate it, get a proper handbrake on there. Alongside this, whilst removing the Sumo steering bar, I had to cut off one of the nuts off the arm to get it off. That's fine anyway, because these are only about £8 a go, so I was planning on replacing them anyway, as they're so cheap and they're a little bit tired on that. So that's another thing for the list and something for me to buy. Other than that, the piles of bits are collecting up as usual. Just any build, any Land Rover build you do, there's always just a ridiculous number of parts that come on and off of the car. So storage is always an issue, so you've got to try and store it as neatly as possible. Right guys, so I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on the project. As you can see, I've got the brake master here and brake pedal box, and I've just given it a coat of Buzzweld. I've also zinc primed it first to get rid of any rust on there, and I'm going to be filling in the two screw holes at the end, the top, which will allow water to flow down it and cause it all to rust up. Should look pretty nice once it's all dried up, and will be ready to fit on the car. The car, as you can see, is looking glorious after a coat of bed liner to the engine bay. So I did one coat of Tetra Seal chassis paint, gloss black, and then over the top of that I did one coat of bed liner. I've also refitted the heater box with new stainless steel bolts down there, as you can see, and I've also started to tidy up the wiring. Currently I've used these kind of 3M sticky pads. For some things like the handbrake cable, I'm going to leave them like that. For the slightly heavier items, I've already, as you can see here, use zip ties onto solid parts of the chassis, and I'll also be up here where things are a bit heavier and all the wiring's a bit thicker. I'm going to be reinforcing those sticky pads with some P-clips and pot riveting them through the bulkhead, just to give it that extra bit of strength. I'm just a bit worried that the 3M pads will lose a bit of their strength with heat from the engine bay, as the exhaust is going to run down this side of the car. The next steps are going to be, once the brake cylinder is dry, I'm going to refit it there. As you can see, I've not painted the areas where the gaskets were, and I'm going to use gasket sealant to seal them in place so no water can flow down into the footwell of the car. Other bits I'm now going to do, we took the steering box off. In the previous video I showed that I was worried that the splines were worn, but actually I was quite lucky, and the pedal box is actually alright. I've checked the splines, I've tightened it up, checked for play and all the kind of not usual things you do, and it's all good. What I am going to be doing is replacing the UJs on the steering joints from the steering wheel to the steering box, as they are a little bit tired. They're not bad actually, but they're only about 20 quid for two, so, and there's only 4 of them, so 40 quid for the lot to replace them and have the peace of mind that they're all tight and good. The checker plate is off, and I'll be refurbing that later. I'm not going to be sorting that out right away, as I'm more worried about getting the car going before I start tackling visual external stuff. In the cab, I haven't made a lot of progress. As you can see, I've obviously stripped out the pedal boxes, so that's all tidy. I'm gonna once I know which holes I need to fill in and what have you, I'm gonna fill the holes in, and then I'm gonna sound deaden over the top of that. In here, I have ordered a Raptor metal dash binnacle and also the back piece. As you can see here, the lower dash is pretty tired, so I've ordered some Raptor panels which kind of hang over this and fit over this and will cover this nasty crack, but also this hole, which was for the glow plugs in the car. Obviously the existing owner had wired this in. This won't be necessary as it's ECU controlled on the M57, so I'm going to delete that, get rid of it, get rid of the wiring also, and then tidy all this up so it's all nice and tidy with the covering panel from Raptor. I'm going to keep the T5 dash the same it was. I did consider doing the full Raptor thing, but my dash actually is not too bad once there. I'm going to put a covering plate just to tidy it up, and so it should look pretty sharp. Yeah, so that's all the progress I've made on the inside. It's a hell of a mess and I've been rather busy, so I haven't got too much done. But we're getting there. It's looking a lot nicer, and everything's come apart nicely, and yeah, we're moving on. Shouldn't take too long now, hopefully.